Hey gang, Lisa here. I'm a little bit tousled, a little bit bleary-eyed. Uh, Coming home from being at the hospital yesterday and then on call last night, and just super, super grateful to be safe and sound. Super grateful to have a job and to have amazing colleagues, and the nurses and the doctors and the aides and all the other dietitians and the environmental workers and all. The hospital is like this little city, right? And right now the little city in the heart of the Willamette Valley in Oregon, we're preparing for Hurricane Corona. Not a whole lot going on yet, but that doesn't mean there isn't a lot going on. It's just not a whole lot. So we're in this strange place where, for those who are not the chaplains, but for the nurses and doctors and aides who are working behind the isolation wards, they're starting to deal with COVID cases or suspected COVID cases. But we still feel like, we're kind of okay. And I'm grateful for that. I'm, feeling very grateful, just for everything. And wanting to, pop on video and just share a little bit of tarot joy, nothing too deep. I wanted to share, a million years ago, at the beginning of the month, when it still made sense for people to congregate in a hotel conference room and have a tarot conference when I was at Northwest Tarot Symposium. I came across a few decks and brought them home, and I wanted to share a couple of the decks that I just love, that I'm finding myself just madly in love with. Where is it? Where is it? Okay, so I don't yet have the proper bag for this. So one of the decks I came across that I just love is the new Lo Scarabeo Gold and Black. This freaking bling machine. I love this. Now, the one thing about this is I was hoping that it would shuffle like Tina Gong's Golden Thread, which is a plastic deck. Hang on for a second. You guys know this deck? I'm sure a lot of you do. This is a great deck, and also a bling fest. And this deck shuffles like, this deck is one of the most delicious things to have in the hands that I've ever known. And look at those edges, and just brilliant deck. I don't use this deck often enough. I gotta play with this deck some more. But a brilliant deck, brilliant app associated with the deck. I don't have her Seventh Sphere Marseille. Almost bought it and may end up getting it at some point. But I had hoped that the Gold and Black would feel like that, and it doesn't, because it's not plastic. It's just one of those Lo Scarabeo gold foil decks. But it is so stupendous, and it has the Tudor lilies on the back. So love this deck. Have so far successfully resisted the urge to get a backup, but this is one of my beloveds. It's hard to photograph, but it reads beautifully, of course. Just a simple Rider-Waite. One of the giveaways at Newt's was that you get a free deck from Llewellyn, and I got the Otherkins Tarot, which, it's not the greatest cardstock, but for those of you who know Ceola Thompson's Line Strider, in some ways I think this is I love Line Strider, but this deck, it's very, very similar, both in style and in the feel. And there are tons of videos about this deck. I'm just sharing fun things. New loves. Beautiful tower card. Just, her backs are kind of her weakness. I don't think she does good backs, so I'm not thrilled about that back. But the Otherkins Tarot, this is the High Priestess. No, sorry, the Magician. This is the High Priestess. I love the High Priestess in this deck. She's holding... How smart is that? She's holding the lobster that we see in the moon. She's holding the being that arises from the depths. How brilliant. Anyway, really lovely deck, fun deck. And so I think that, oh, and then from our good friends at Tarot Garden, I had to get myself, this is the bag for it, a deck that's out of print. It's not hard to find. You can get it for 40 or 50 bucks on eBay. That's about what I paid for it at from buying it from Tarot Garden. But this is the Gareth Knight Tarot, and it is an aesthetic that, I mean, I kind of love this sort of 70s, 80s. I think it's 1986. I could be totally making up that date. You know, bright colors, kind of goofy, sort of primitive. Really like that Emperor style. Interesting lovers card. There's something I really, really love about this deck. Look at that Hermit. I mean, it's sort of ridiculously stupid. Now the minors sort of follow a Crowley signification, and are pippish, but they're not Marseille style pip. They're also not really Crowley style pip. They're their own thing. So I haven't played with this at all, but I'm super thrilled. And they're sort of Crowley-ish, I guess. I'm super thrilled to have this. I love the well-positioned suit elements. That Princess of Discs, she's so modest. It's just fun with the Ankh on the back. So that's a new toy. And then a deck that, you know, actually was a deck that I got. I think this was one of my earliest deck purchases back in the late 80s, and I have no idea what ended up with it. I ultimately didn't like it, but the Fergus Hall's Tarot of the Witches. This was on the swap table, and so this is not a vintage version of it, I don't think. It looks like, according to the Little White Book, this is probably 2001, not one of the early 70s versions. And you know, the pips are sort of interesting, not that compelling maybe. The figures throughout have this sort of surreal, playful quality. For those of you who know Stella's Tarot, similar feel to that, much older than that tarot. You know, Stella's Tarot is perhaps derivative a little bit of this art. I mean, I don't know. I was doing some readings with this at Northwest Tarot Symposium, and they were shockingly powerful readings. So it made me think, you know, occasionally you pick up a deck and it does something in your hands that sort of exceeds what you think it should do. Has that ever happened to you? So I'm really excited to play with the Tarot of the Witches. Some of you know this about me. Until I have the right bag for a deck, I can't really play with it. So I can't really play with this. Same with my gold and black. I can't really play with this yet because I don't have the bag for it. Instead, I'm using an old bag from the David Bowie deck. That's not the name of the deck, but the Starman Tarot. Okay. And now these aren't things that I picked up from Newt's, but a deck that I just acquired. Folks, I think I may have found my favorite version of the Waite Smith deck. This is the CS Tarot, and it is a deck that you can purchase from Make Playing Cards. It is, for those of you who love the Dirty Pam, I never ended up buying the Dirty Pam, and I don't own the Dirty Pam, and the Radiant Wise Spirit just doesn't do it for me. The cardstock is just, I just can't get over the glossy, everything about the cardstock. I just, this deck, though, does everything that the Dirty Pam does and more. The majors are unfucking-lievable. There's this quality of, like, stonework. One blogger talks about how, like, this looks like labradorite with the hermit. It's just exquisite. And the backs, I think, are exquisite. And the cardstock choice of the artist is exquisite. I love everything about this deck. It shuffles beautifully. The cards are gorgeous. I really don't think that there is a Waite-Smith deck version. It reminds me of the way I feel about the Deck of the Bastard, which I have in the waterproof cardstock, which when I got it, I thought, do I have it out easily accessible? I don't. When I got it, I thought, it just felt so good in my hands. This has a similar, does something similar in my hands. The problem with the cardstock of the Deck of the Bastard, oh, now I want to find it desperately. The problem with its cardstock is that, amazing as the waterproof cardstock is, the images come out too dark. So if I could have the Deck of the Bastard with like 30% brighter images in the waterproof cardstock, that would be my bliss. Maybe. Because actually this may be my bliss. Oh man. And I bought it in two versions. This is the smooth version. But I actually think I like it better in the linen version, which you're not going to be able to see, I don't think. Oh, I wish I could capture this. Boy, this is thrilling video as Lisa holds the card. Ooh. Anyway, very similar. You know, the cardstock is maybe a touch thicker with the smooth than it is with the linen, is it? Well, maybe they're the same. But the linen just has that slightly, it has that, I've heard it described as casino feel, the feel of playing cards, so it shuffles beautifully, it feels beautiful in the hands, and the color is just exquisite. So, you know, going back to my 5 C's of tarot quality, particularly when it comes to the Waite-Smith, color, the coloration of this deck is amazing. The clarity of the images, because it's sort of digitally redone, the lines might have even been sharpened. So color and clarity, cardstock is a dream. Calligraphy, it has the fonts. It has Pixie's fonts. I always forget one of the C's. Calligraphy. But the one thing about it is the artist put his copyright. So C. Stein? Is that his name? I'll put the information about the artist and where to find this deck. So he has his copyright in the corner, which, you know, fair enough. Fair enough, but kind of a drag. But anyway, this deck, this Waite-Smith deck, I am in deep, deep love. Deep love. Like, over head over heels. The kind of love that will get you through a pandemic, folks, as long as you stay healthy. And then this tin, there's an option on Make Playing Cards to have a custom tin made. The artist has made a JPEG for a cover of a tuck box available. I will also put a link to the blogger who turned me on to this deck, turned me on to the ability to make a box for it, all through Make Playing Cards. She talks really intelligently about the cardstock. It was on her recommendation that I ended up buying both card stocks and the box. But I am still awaiting the arrival of my pouch for this deck, because this one I want to use. The one with the linen finish will be the deck that I use. So got cut off by a phone call just then. One last deck. Now this is not a recent purchase, so everything that I've just shared are like my favorites from March. Delicious little tidbits that I got while at Newt's, plus of course this amazing CS Tarot. And then there's this deck that I dug out because of my starting up my mentorship program, and I wanted to remember Paul Hewson's deck, which I've never really worked with. It's been sort of a study deck that I've dipped into occasionally. This is widely in print still. Dame Fortune's Wheel Tarot, Paul Hewson. This deck is amazing. Paul Hewson is amazing in general. You know, his sort of grasp of the historical tarot and the ways in which, by going back to, you know, 1400s, 1500s, sort of the early history of tarot, he actually helps make sense of some of the deep roots of esoteric tarot, of the tarot that we know through, you know, Waite Smith and the Golden Dawn. And this deck is just, and the accompanying book, which is harder to get, although the, you know, the little white book has some info. This deck is awesome. I think it's really pretty. I think the coloration and the kind of strange pale-faced figures, I think they're cool. I think it's historical, so Justice is 8, of course. Its historical emphasis is really smart. So you've got the Hermit with the hourglass instead of the lantern. You know, just sort of evocation of an older, like Visconti Sforza and other 15th and 16th century decks, 17th century decks. Fortitude here is not the lady with the lion, but instead an older image of the breaking of the pillar. This sort of brings forward the kind of Judas Iscariot image of the hanged man as traitor. It's just super cool. The majors are wonderful. This weird male figure for the star, so bringing forth a whole different set of iconography for the star. This is one of my favorite cards in the deck. I just love the colors. There's that lobster. Really interesting Judgment card. The World, you know, really calling forth earlier traditions. And then, you know, the sort of illustrated pips, which again, they sort of draw on, you know, Atella and other sort of early divination readings for the minors. And they're just pretty. I especially like the cups. So this is a deck that I haven't worked with. I've only used for reference, and now I'm going to be diving into it. Love it. I also love the backs. You know, and it's just the cardstock is the sort of Lo Scarabeo cardstock that we know. Some of, always consistent. I really like Lo Scarabeo cardstock, actually. Kind of consistent. Yeah. So, you know, if you're looking to kind of expand your ways of reading tarot by thinking a little bit more about tarot history, just getting that a little bit more firmly in your grasp, Paul Hewson is the guy. He's really, I mean, he's one of the guys. He also has a Significator card, which is really actually quite beautiful, I think. He's one of the guys. His book on the mystical origins of tarot is, you know, I think a really great source book to have in one's library, in one's tarot library. And this deck, yeah, I mean, just how fun. So, just some fun stuff, decks that I've been enjoying, and yeah, in the land of virus, you know, a little tarot goes a long way. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and may you be safe and sane, and may your spirits be enriched by the things you love, the people you love, the activities you love, and just, as always, thank you so much for your practice and for joining me today.